I got an opportunity to share a small topic with you all that is about the approach of homeopathy in palliative care. So, we all have heard
Uh,
about
Doctor,
palliation.
1 second.
Yes.
Yeah, my moderator will introduce and then we can start.
Uh,
1 second.
okay, I should wait.
One second.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
ma'am. Okay, yeah.
a very good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and our dear iconic women. Welcome to the Daily Study Week 5, and today we have Dr. Manpreet Kaur with her topic Approach of Homeopathy in Palliative Care. Dr. Manpreet Kaur is director and homeopathic physician and consultant at Dr. Manpreet's Homeo Clinic in Rajouri Garden, Delhi. She is the Vice President of Delhi State Chapter of National Association of Palliative Care for Ayush and Integrative Medicine. She is also the Associate Editor with the Journal of Homeopathic Heritage, member of the editorial board of e-Journal of NAPCAM. Committed in independent research, editorial works, and publication of research papers, she has also published various articles in different journals and also shared a poster presentation entitled Exploring the Concept of Miasm for Clinical Use at LMHI 2021. She's an accomplished, elaborate work in the branch of homeopathic drug proving as well, and she has received a certificate of appreciation for actively participating in 66th World Homeopathic Congress of LIGA 2011 in New Delhi. Thank you so much for giving us your time and your knowledge, ma'am. And we are very grateful to have you here. Handing over the stage to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So, please allow me to share my screen for today's topic. I hope this is visible.
Yes, yes.
Is
Yes,
it
ma'am.
visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, ma'am. So, we talk about the approach of homeopathy in palliative care. So, everybody, as a homeopath, we all are aware that our mission is to cure, but yes, there are cases in which we need palliation also, especially in cases which are in their terminal state of pathology, and palliation is the only measure in those cases. So, we all have heard about palliation in homeopathy from Dr. Roberts' philosophy majorly, and also in our clinical work in Dr. Hahnemann's writing, we read about palliation. So, in today's presentation, I would like to brief out certain points related to the approach of homeopathy in palliation and palliative care cases with respect to the organon part, with respect to the materia medica part. Then, so let's begin with that. And we all know that homeopathy is an alternative system of medicinal therapeutics discovered by Dr. Hahnemann in 1796. And we base our prescriptions all on similia similibus curenta, which means let likes be cured by likes. And the remedy is selected for the treatment of the natural disease, which is capable of producing a range of similar symptoms in a healthy person. So we all know about this, but this approach is also followed in cases of palliation. So I'm beginning with the just the basic part and then proceed further after that. So we all know that our medicines help to fight against the diseases by assisting the body's natural ability to provide relief for the symptoms of the illness, and there is no suppression as such if we prescribe in a correct way. And our therapy adopts an individualistic and holistic approach towards the sick individuals. Like we mean a total care, which includes the physical, the psychological, the social part of the individual while we are treating the
Doctor,
person.
one second.
Yes.
Your slides is not visible. So presentation alone is visible. You have to move the slides. It is not in
Okay.
the presentation mode.
It is in a. Okay.
Not in a presentation mode. No.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, but we are seeing the side this thing also. But now it is moved.
Now it is moving.
Not in the whole.
Okay.
It is not in the whole
Okay.
screen mode.
Is it moving now, ma'am?
Yeah. Please move.
Yes, I have moved it.
No, no.
Not moving. Okay.
Yes.
Let me share it again then, probably. Is it visible now, ma'am?
Yeah. Now it is. Yes,
Now it
correct.
is it moving also?
Yeah, moving on. Correct.
Okay, okay. So I just started with a brief introduction that our medicine is based on holistic approach towards the treatment of any sick individual, and we take into account the physical, the psychological, the social aspect as well, and this includes the person as a whole, and we give a total care to the patient for the cure of the person, for the cure of the sick individual as a whole. And our medicine, the therapy, or the homeopathy adopts an individualistic and holistic approach towards the sick individual. So, as a homeopathic doctor, we do not treat in the name of the disease. Rather, our treatment is targeted against the patient who is suffering from our disease. So, we treat the sick individual and we do not treat anybody with the name of a disease. We do not treat on the basis of nosology, but we treat the person as a whole, as a patient as a whole. Now we talk about the pathology part, the uh, aspect of palliation. Like, disease per se is always a morbid process of functioning of the life principle, and if we do not check this process of the disease, the progression of the disease, it leads to structural changes. Like, in the beginning, the any disease begins with functional changes, but later on, eventually, structural changes take onset if we do not check the process of the disease. So the structural changes might be of two types. A disease can be reversible also, a disease can be irreversible also, and these are the end results of any morbid vital process. And if the disease is irreversible, it also acts as an obstacle to restoration of the abnormal vital process to a previously healthy condition. Now, the more the pathological changes are of severe degree and more they are of irreversible type, the less are the chances for recovery. So, pathological state of the patient is the one which impedes the recovery. More the pathology, more the difficulty in reverting the illness to its normal functional state. And the knowledge of pathology is why very much essential for us, so that we know about the progression of the disease, the state of the disease, that whether it is reversible, whether it is not reversible, whether it is curable, or whether it needs a palliative measure. So that's why the disease knowledge is very, very important, and the morbid process of the functioning of the life principle is very, very important, so that we can know that how, what stage the disease we are dealing with. Now, the various aspects of a physician's mission are, we know it, to cure in curable cases, to palliate in incurable cases, and we also are a preserver of health, according to aphorism 4. So there are three aspects, are three roles as a physician, that we do our best for the curative cases which are curable, we do palliation in cases which are not curable, and in healthy conditions, we need to preserve the health of the healthy individuals. Now, in cases where pathology is advanced, that it is irreversible, our homeopathic medicines can provide a soothing relief. Though not curative, but yes, our medicines have a role to provide a soothing relief in which the disease is irreversible. Our medicine, our treatment is based on observing the physical symptoms, the mental symptoms, the peculiar symptoms, and there are so many ways of classification of the symptoms according to different stalwarts. Evaluation concept is by different stalwarts has been given in our pathy. Then classification according to the grade, that Dr. Kent has his own method of evaluation, Dr. Boning Hossain has his own method. So accordingly, as a whole, we observe the physical symptoms, the mental symptoms, the peculiar symptoms, and we give a proper treatment based on each case. the presentation, the symptoms given in each case. Our homeopathy has a positive role in improving the quality of life in incurable chronic diseases such as cancer, such as HIV, such as the patients who are terminally ill and have incapacitating diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or many other illnesses which are in a requirement for a palliative treatment, but they are not curative. Now, the role of homeopathy in palliative care. Our medicine, homeopathy, adopts a symptomatic treatment of the ailments of the patients that is definitely based on the totality of symptoms presented in each case. And using the homeopathic remedies for palliative care, specifically for pain relief, is very, very safe and free from side effects. This has also been written in Dr. Roberts' philosophy, the role of homeopathic medicines for pain relief as a palliative has been elaborated by Dr. Robert in his philosophy, the chapter The Law of Palliation. Then, homeopathic medicines can be safely used in palliative care and have no side effects, even if we are using on long term use, especially when used in LM potencies. Then, single remedy in potentized form is employed on the basis of the law of similia for palliation. Yes, this is important. The law of similia, which is for curative purposes, also applies for palliative cases. This has been written by Dr. Robert in his philosophy also. He writes that the basis of cure is the fundamental law of similars. He writes that whether you are doing palliation or whether you are doing cure in a case, the law is the same. We prescribe the remedy on the basis of similia only, and he writes that single remedy in potentized form employed on the basis of law of similia is very, very beneficial for incurable states. Now, when we talk about a terminal stage like end of life care, that can also be done with our remedies acting as a palliative, and homeopathic remedy can be very valuable when relief and comfort for a dying patient is needed. Homeopathic remedies can ease the symptoms and reduce or preclude the need for pharmaceutical drugs at times, and it helps to prolong the quality of life and meaningful interaction with the loved ones in the last days of life. So, in case of palliation, also, our medicine has such a power that the need for the allopathic or the pharmaceutical drugs can be reduced because of the good action of the homeopathic remedy being given along with. The homeopathic similimum is always the best treatment and can have deep acting effects also, and creates a prolongation of life and well-being even when the prognosis is not very bright. So in cases where prognosis is bleak, our remedies can give a very good soothing relief. When time is short and there are symptoms that need relief, an acutely prescribed palliative remedy in homeopathy can serve to soothe the symptoms commonly found at the end of life. Now, conditions where palliation is used in homeopathy, these are the few important points from Dr. Robert's philosophy, which I would like to emphasize here. Like palliation by homeopathic medicine for incurable cases is talked about by Dr. Robert, and he says that the basis of cure is the fundamental law of similars. Similarly, the law of similars is also the fundamental law in the palliation of incurable states. Then he talks about palliation by homeopathic remedies, which is justifiable in four types of incurable cases over here. The first point here is in advanced cases where there is irreversible pathological change. In such cases, when you give a remedy on the basis of similia, it ameliorates the situation at least for few days or for longer period also sometimes. And when there is a return of symptoms again, because a chronic case definitely in cases where there is palliation required, there will be a return of symptoms. It is not curative. So when there is a return of symptoms, the indicated remedy can be given again. So repetition is required, but yes, definitely seeing into account the return of symptoms, the periodicity of return and everything, and definitely low potency is given. definitely the LM potencies are very much safe in such cases, and the patients can be made much more comfortable in such advanced cases where irreversible pathological changes have occurred. Second point, which Dr. Robert talks here, is about the cases of insomnia. In insomnia, he has given very much importance to the concomitants. He says that uh, uh, yes, we need to search the concomitants. Concomitants need to be considered with the symptom of insomnia. So, if you are able to find if you are encountering a symptom of insomnia, try to find out the concomitants alongside. And if you are able to find the concomitants, your remedy will be very much accurately given. And like he has also given certain examples in his book that he talks about certain points where he talks about, I'll just read it from here. Insomnia may be the outstanding irritating symptom in many varied symptom pictures. In some, there is general coldness, and the patient will lie for hours unless he is covered with extra bed clothing, although he may not be aware of being uncomfortably cold. Then he writes that worries of a business nature may be the accompanying symptom picture, or family disturbance may be the bottom of the trouble. There may be pain and distress in certain parts. Any of these things attend a symptomatology of which the insomnia is but a part. So he talks that there can be various symptoms acting as concomitants along with the insomnia. Now, you may ask the patient that does he fall asleep if his knees are heavily covered? Is he kept awake by a rush of ideas? Is he lying awake because he fears that something will happen to him if he drops off to sleep? When does he lie awake? On first going to bed or after midnight? In other words, what are the concomitants? So, if you are finding a case of insomnia, and it can be the insomnia may be treated with crude palliative measures so that patient secures sleep. But Dr. Robert says that this is unnatural sleep. When you are giving a medicine in the allopathic part, and if insomnia if insomnia is considered a part of the symptomatic picture and given its proper place in the symptomatology, and the man as a whole is treated and not just one or two symptoms taking only insomnia, the patient will gain a natural refreshing sleep and will be improved in general health. So he talks about insomnia as a case where palliation is required. So the insomnia may be treated with crude palliative measures so that the patient secures sleep. But at best, this is unnatural sleep. While if insomnia is considered as a part of the symptomatology and given its proper place, and the man is himself treated not alone on few symptoms, then you can improve the health of the person in a great manner. The next point he talks about in his philosophy is about pain. When the symptom of pain is found and it is complete. Now he talks about completing the symptom of pain along with other things. I'll just read from here. I'll just let you know. Just a sec. Yeah. Now, Dr. Robert says again, pain is one of the experiences from which human life has ever striven to free itself. Pain in itself is a blessing in disguise, for it brings to the patient a recognition of trouble, and to the physician the ability to recognize the location of the trouble. So, Dr. Robert has given importance to the presence of pain in chronic cases, in cases which require palliation. Because if there is no pain, it is actually a bad sign. See, if a person is not responding and does not have pain, it means that the vitality is not expressing itself. And definitely, this is a bad sign. But if there is pain, it is a good sign. It is a blessing in disguise. But he says that the symptom of pain needs to be complete, as in with its location, with its type, with its aggravation part, with its amelioration aspects, and also the concomitants. And concomitants, he says, they may lie in the condition of aggravation or amelioration, but which are often seemingly unrelated symptoms. And a carefully selected remedy will relieve the pain promptly, and patient will be made much more comfortable and happy and better than the narcotics. So he gives importance to the homeopathic remedy that when correctly selected and correctly given, it can be even more beneficial than a narcotic. He talks about certain points like case taking. In case taking, we can take the location, the kind of pain, whether it is steady or intermittent, and if intermittent, whether at regular interval or upon motion, or is it dull, cutting, blunt, sharp, pressing, pulling, darting, cramping. Then get at the type of pain as a characteristic symptom of the disordered condition, the time and circumstances of aggravation, amelioration, the reaction to thermic condition, and all the concomitant symptoms that can be found. When the symptom of pain is complete with all these things, your picture is almost complete. And but if in addition you can find the concomitants, which are which may then you have a sound basis for selection of the remedy, and patient can be made comfortable better than any narcotic. This is what Dr. Robert has written from the book. The next part he also talks about is in cases of alteration of symptoms, the cases where alteration of the symptoms are found. In cases where a part of the symptom is expressed in one season and the other part is expressed on later, when there is alteration of symptom pictures in different seasons of the year, such as gastric summer gastric disturbance and winter rheumatic conditions. Again, in such cases also, Dr. Robert tells that the symptomatology of the remedy must simulate to the entire picture of the patient.
Doctor,
And yes, ma'am, that is not included in here.
slide is
In
okay.
yeah, I'm reading
Ah,
from the book because it was not very much related, so but I needed to just point to that, so I'm just reading from the book only, it's not on the slide. So in cases yeah, where there is alteration of symptom, we must take the entire symptomatology where periodicity or alteration is a part of the symptomatology, but the remedy which you are giving must correspond to the characteristic features. And when we are employing a remedy as a whole, taking into account all the aspects, that what are the summer complaints and what are the winter complaints, like that, the entire symptomatology has to be taken. And when the remedy is given on this, then you can see a great result. Then, after this, the next point Dr. Robert Tech talks about is in surgical cases. He says that homeopathic remedies can act as a substitute for narcotics in surgical cases, whether you give it before operation or after the operation. Here, the indicated remedy does excellent service, and the patient will go through the mental and physical distress very happily. So, surgery is not only a physical aspect but also carries a mental distress also. So, Dr. Robert says that when you are using a homeopathic remedy, it provides relief both physically also and mentally also. You can give it before surgery also, you can give it after surgery also, and our remedies provide a great palliative relief in surgical cases. These remedies will be indicated partly by the symptomatology and partly by the immediate causes of distress, that is a mental aspect, such as physical aspect, you can say lacerated wounds, strenuous vomiting, shock, and incarcerated flatus. So, surgical cases which are presented with such symptoms, our remedies can give a very good relief in such cases. Another aspect Dr. Robert also talks about the cases where there are mechanical injuries. Mechanical injuries, he says that vulnerary remedies that will not only the remedies not only allay the pain and distress incident to the traumatic conditions, but will prevent the congestion, the suppuration, and the gangrenous processes, and hasten healing. And he has also given certain examples. like arnica, hypericum, ledum, natrum sulph, rustox, and ruta, which are very, very useful in the mechanical injuries where palliation can only be given. And he also says that narcotics can, just suppress the pain. Narcotics deaden the pain, but our medicines do not do such action, and they provide a healing relief. And narcotics invite structural changes by slowing the natural powers, but our remedies can do not act in that way and provide a soothing relief in mechanical injuries. But yes, always he also again writes here that again the remedy must also be always be administered on the basis of similia for a great benefit. So thus we can just say here that the same law applies in curable and in incurable cases. And in incurable cases, Dr. Robert writes, we must not put a limitation on the possibility of the similar remedy. For in many seemingly incurable condition, the simillimum will so completely meet the situation as to obliterate the symptomatology of disease and the pathology and will restore the patient to health. So we must not think that only, at times he says that when we are giving a simillimum, it gives a palliative relief also, and at times it restores the pathology also and returns the patient to perfect healthy state also. So either for palliation of incurable disease or for the cure of curable disease, the symptomatology of the remedy must correspond, and the disease picture should be covered in order to bring a good relief. Now I would talk about a few of our remedies here. Like in palliative cases, we find many symptoms like nausea, difficulty in breathing, excessive secretions, death rattle, insomnia, pain and emotional upsets like fear, grief, anxiety. So these can be found. Now, integrating the homeopathic remedies with this can reduce the amount of the pharmaceutical drugging. And if there is a family member or a friend who can administer the doses even to an unconscious patient, and we can observe the results and can report to the homeopath. So we can give the remedies along with the usual treatment of pharmaceutics. Like allopathy can be given along with homeopathy, and there are better results in such cases. If you are giving the remedy, you can give it to the family member who is administering, but he must report and be in touch with the doctor to see, observe and communicate the response so that we can accordingly work out further. Now, homeopathic treatment can be also be useful when given for several hours before resorting to conventional medication. It can be given before starting the conventional medication also. Our remedies do not stupefy or dull the patient. Our remedies do not constipate the bowels, do not depress the respiratory rate, and remedies will not need any detoxification because already the liver is being overtaxed by the other remedies, by the other allopathic medicines. So our remedies do not further aggravate such condition. Rather, it will help to heal only. Our remedies are commonly administered in the form of liquid or globules, or in the form of topical products, in powder form, in tablet form. Now, there are also homeopathic remedies prepared as syrups, lozenges, eye drops, etc. And alcohol is always a vehicle for our medicines and also acts as an excellent preservative. The usual mode for employing the remedies is through the oral route, but there are alternative routes also because the patient is bedridden or not in a state to take the medicine orally. So the medicine can be given by olfaction, that is inhalation through the nose or mouth, by application to the skin, and by application of medicine through the okay. Now, our medicines can be given from low to high potencies. Start with the low and move higher, and dosing can be repeated. It can be frequently repeated every 5 to 10 minutes, but in water doses, obviously. uh, so and very very carefully, because when pathology is advanced, we need to be very careful about the potencies and repetitions. The vital force of a dying person is not so strong, and the vital force is already tired and fragile, so high potency should not be given. Now, few remedies like Magphos can be tried for muscular pains, cramps, abdominal pains, and headaches. Now, if the person has just had surgery or injury, then arnica can be a remedy. Now, a person's pain may be reduced by treating their fear, the grief or anxiety, that is the emotional mental aspect. And for such condition, one of our remedy is Arsenicum album, which is known for soothing the fear of death and is indicated when there is agitation, restlessness, thirst, great anguish, burning heat with external coldness, and desire for warmth, warm drinks and warmth. Now, for relieving nausea and vomiting for a person, uh, our remedy Ipecac can be helpful, because this is again a very common symptom found in such cases. And Ipecac can be tried when nausea and vomiting occur based upon the indications. Another remedy for nausea is Nux vomica, and to decide which one to use, one should look at the tongue. And Ipecac tongue is clear, but Nux vomica is coated and toxic looking. Now, China can be used for weakness, which is experienced after the loss of fluids in such cases. Calcarea carb is another remedy which might help those very sick people who are putting lot of perspiration, uh, which you call as the diaphoresis, and it happens when one is in shock or having a medical emergency. And this is a situation where one of our slow acting polycrest can be used even in urgent cases. Another remedy is Carboveg, where there is a state of great collapse, known for great weakness with bluish lips, icy cold skin, and cool breath. Though they are cold, but they want a draft of air always around them. Another remedy, not another remedy, yes, there are two remedies which can be considered for death rattle or Chine strokes breathing, like arsenic album and antim tart. If the person seems to have a labored breathing, there is wheezing or having asthmatic symptoms or burning pains, then arnica can be considered. It can arsenic can be considered. Then arsenic is also good to help the anxiety around the person which is there, fear of death. And then there is another remedy, antim tart. When secretions build up and create rattling in the chest, then we can think of antim tart, especially when the person is very weak and unresponsive, becoming unresponsive. Now, along with the remedies, our job is also to, our job at this time when a dying person has difficulty breathing is to speak gently. We as doctors should also not panic, or, at times we also get emotional and things like that. So we must be very gentle and loving towards and reassuring towards the person, and try to ease the fear. Do not panic, and because this can increase the fear that may already be present around the person or the family members. And it is possible and beneficial to enhance the emotional balance of the dying person and the loved ones as they go through these stresses and stages of grief. Now, if there is acute fear and panic, with or without well known symptom, and there is a symptom of predicts the time of death, then Econite can be given. It is a remedy when there is a fearful panic which has gripped around the mind and body, and the heart is also racing. The mind cannot relax. In such cases, you can consider Econite. They may have a look of fear in the eyes, and it is very, very tense. That is noticeable in the appearance itself. That patient looks fearful itself. So, in such cases, Econite can be thought. Then another remedy, which is Kali Phosphoric Sex. I should not say about the potency actually. Talking about only the remedy symptom, it can be a tonic for the nervous system, and can help the caregivers also who are feeling tense and stressed and overwhelmed. They may give response like muscles relaxing and stress releasing. For so this is a remedy for the caregivers who are taking care of the sick, at the terminal stages or end stages of the life, or very very bedridden people like that. So caregivers also need a therapy. Then insomnia can be helped by coffea for alertness when it is time for sleep, because they are wired and upset. Then arsenic also helps those who cannot sleep due to worry and fear. And ignatia is another remedy which can also help a person who is very very sad, who is grieving, and this can calm down the mind and help the person to sleep. Now there
Dear
are,
doctor,
yes ma'am.
we have another question as well.
Yes ma'am. I'll just 2 minutes more, I'll just conclude that.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so ignatia, as we know, is another remedy which is used during acute initial phases of grief, immediately before and after death, and it is also called a funeral remedy. As there is a silent grief, and patient needs ignatia with a symptom of lump in the throat, and it helps the grief-stricken person very very in a good manner. Another remedy we can talk about is cocculus. The effects of, yeah, so cocculus is known to help those who have been caretakers of the sick and now have grief and health problems. Phosphoric acid is another remedy for grief when there is low energy and debility of the nervous system. So, to conclude, I would just like to say here that homeopathy adopts a symptomatic treatment for the ailments of the patients, and our remedies do not have side effects even on long term use, and are not very expensive also. Then, our medicines for palliative can be used for palliative care, especially in pain relief. Uh, then, although every dying person will have different symptoms and needs, the family can keep their loved ones more comfortable and go through these stages of the dying process in a holistic and conscious manner using our homeopathic remedies. A motivated family can take charge and integrate the customized palliative treatment using homeopathy, which can allow the dying person to need less drugging. Then the fact that homeopathic medicine do not interact with the treatment is a real plus and can be easily integrated with the allopathic regimens. And homeopathy definitely should be offered as a modality from all hospices. So that's all about my presentation. Thank you so much to all.
Yes, dear doctor, very well presented, very neatly uh, made presentation. I think that my opinion is you could have shifted the onus towards more remedies and more conditions rather than the basics of palliative care as well as homeopathy's role. But anyway, very
Yes.
well done.
Yes,
Very
it
nice,
was a
doctor.
concise, it was just compiled in a very short and concise, like,
Start. Yeah,
that's why.
very well done.
We'll
Yeah,
take it
we'll
up
have
again. Yeah.
discussion and questions at the end of the session so
Yes,
that
ma'am.
we'll have the next speaker.
Sure,
Yes,
sure, ma'am. Sure. Yes, yes.
yes. Now, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Dr. Tara Subha. Dr. Tara?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yeah, you are audible. Yeah. I want to give a brief account of Dr. Tara, who has done her BHMS in Shivaraj Homeopathic Medical College, Salem, Tamil Nadu in 2012. And she's practicing in homeopathy in Vaigai Homeopathic Clinic, Thiruvaldur, near Chennai, since 2017. She had worked as a JRF in CCH, Puducherry, and in a pilot project in 2021. Also, she had worked in Priyam Clinic in Mylapore previously to that. And she had been working as a DMO in VS Cancer Hospital in Chennai uh, uh, before that. And she has a good knowledge about cancer. She has worked in cancer hospital, so I have asked her to talk about that also, her experience in working in a cancer hospital. So, without much delay, we'll call upon our Dr. Tara. Please take over.
Yes, ma'am. Is my slide is visible?
No, doctor. Slide's not increasing. We can see you.
Sorry, my slide is not opening. Okay, I will go through without slide. Okay. My antivirus is not responding to open up the slide. Okay, now
Yeah.
we will go for the level of health. This is the glimpse from the book by Dr. George Vitolgos. The level of health, why it need? That's the first question. So this book is written by Dr. George Vitolgos uh, based upon his 49 years of experience. So with the chronic and acute disease and their impact upon the defense mechanism, mainly based upon this. So why we need to know about this? So we have gained more insight into the disease states of the patient, and consequently be able to reach a better prognosis both before and also during the treatment. So it's necessary for every homeopath to have an insight into the reasons why the treatment he or she gives does not bring the expected results. So some cases we will get a very good result. Some cases we have more failures. So what is the cause for the failures? We will get a good idea from this book. So what is the cause for the failures? So basic information is we already know all the philosophies about homeopathy. So same Hahnemann's vital force. The term is replaced by George Vitolgos as the energy complex of the organism. Organism means we, the people. So he just changed the thing, and he changed the miasm, the word miasm, as a genetic predisposition. So it will be modern medicine also they accepted as a genetic trait. Because of that only you had the fever, you had this chronic disease like that, they will give the diagnosis. So that genetic trait, Hahnemann already told as a miasm, but Dr. George Vitolgos explained as the genetic predisposition. So we also know the defense mechanism. About the defense mechanism, it's a complex and it consists of immune system, and that immune system is also consisted with reticuloendothelial system, sympathetic parasympathetic system, and a hormonal system, and the lymphatic system. So this is the basic thing, and our aim is here to restore the hemostasis. Actually, our vital force react to positive vibes and also the negative vibes. Like we know the primary action of the vital force and the secondary actions of the vital force. Why the disease is forming, everything we already known thing. So we have to maintain the hemostasis, which is altered by the any stimulus. It may be from inside or from the outside, from the our internal energy from that also, or otherwise from the external environment stimulus. So it will be affected. So we have to restore the natural internal order. That hemostasis we have to maintain. That is the reason. That is the main thing we have to expect in a cure in the patient. That will be a positive sign for a cure. So in the level of health, doctor describes basically 12 levels from 11, 1, 2 like that until 12. So in that he grouped as a 4 groups from level 1 to 3 as a group A, level 4 to 6 as a group B, level 7 to 9 as a group C, level 10 to 12 as a group D. So in this, the level 1, that is within the group A, the level 1 and 2, 3 as a group does a group A. These peoples are very good, having a very good health condition. So they are the highest level of health. They are having the highest health, level of health. So mild stimulus of anything will not affect them. Like indisposition, we already studied in Agnan in aphorism 151. That simple kind of indisposition, even without the medication, our natural vital force heal ourselves with the minute stimuli, minute changes in our hemostasis. These kind of people come under the level 1. So regularly we are seeing now So for a 1 year or 2 year now, they will have a very mild fever in the past 2 to 3 years like that only. That also, there is no need of very heavy medications, antibiotics. That is not necessary for the people of level 1. So once they are cured now, they will come back to the natural state without any energy loss, like weakness like that. They are not having at all. So these kind of people categorized as level 1. So level 2, somewhat okay. When they will get the acute infections, they will come back to normal within a expected short time. While comparing to the level 1, level 2 is somewhat take longer duration. Level 3 is they also get viral infections or any acute infections. They will come back to normal state. That means they reverse to their hemostasis level, but with the loss of energy. They will be have more dullness for a longer week. Like example, some people is affected with cold now. So after 1 week also they feel the tiredness on their body. Any acute fever now they will feel more tiredness for a more prolonged time, like a week or a month sometimes also. They will group as a level 3. So what is happening now? Whenever the disease is suppressed from level 1, level 2 people, they will go to the level 3. So, but these kind of people easily treated with homeopathy medicines with the best indicated simulacrum. We can get best indicated simulacrum very easily. Like while seeing the patient itself, we get the simulacrum easily from the level 1 to level 3. And these kind of peoples are may get cancer also. Like deep pathology also these people will get level 1 to level 3. Definitely they will get the deep pathology in case of they are going for a acute crisis situation. So they will get a cancer like a deep pathology. But what is the beauty of this layer? That means the group A, level 1, level 2, level 3. If you're going to give a correct homeopathy medication, they will come back easily to the hemostasis within a short span of time. Here, they will need just a single dose, a single medicine, that is enough for them. These are the highlighted cases. Homeopathy treat cancer like that. We will see a lot of success stories by the doctors now. These group of people only get that kind of success stories because their energy pattern is very high. They will come back easily to their original status, that is the homeostasis level. So level 1 to level 3, they may get deeper pathology like liver cirrhosis, kidney failure, like that, more kind of deep pathology, even severe mental disease also. But they can be easily come back to their own level because their genetical predisposition, that is that miasmatic level, is very, very less. They are very highest level of health. They are having the highest level of health. And second group is B, that is level 4, 5, and 6. In this group, what we expect now, these people, whenever get the acute infection, they will go to a crisis mode. So it is these people get a long time of treatment. Like level 1, level 2, level 3 need a simple medication, simple time. That means the duration of treatment time is very, very less. Even 1 month, 2 month, 3 month is enough for the group A people. But group B people, they will get cured with 6 month or 1 year like that. The duration will be prolonged while comparing to the group A. But they are also less pre-genetic dispositions for the deep pathological condition. They also get level 4 also get cancer like pathology, level 5 also can get cancer like pathology, level 6 also they get. But here is the differences again. They need 2 or more 3 remedies. So first medicine, it will be indicated, it will be cleared the 1 layer, and the next medicine, like that, the treatment plan will be go off. Sometimes it may take 2 to 3 years also, especially in the cases of level 6. So how to differentiate in the clinic, level 1 to level 6 like that now? The first level 1, level 2, level 3, they will have a mild predisposition only, right? So they will not get acute as so fast, but easily they will come record. Level 4 to 5 and 6, they will get acute diseases frequently, but whenever they are getting the acute disease, their highest level of health go down. So it comes to the next level. If the people get a repeated cold affections, repeated upper respiratory tract infections like that, they are getting in the level 4, they will come to level 5. So due to the suppressions, wrong treatment, wrong therapy, like that. So again, same people, that level 4 comes to level 5 now. Again, she is getting more respiratory infections like that now. So initially, only the upper respiratory tract will be affected, like rhinitis, sinusitis, like that, ear pain. The simple infections will be there for like a cold, like that, but it's in the intense and prolonged state in the level 4. But if she is suppressed by repetitive antibiotics and alternative medicines like that, which is going to suppress even our homeopathy medicines, which is given for temporary relief, like that, they will go for the level 5. Here, the pathology will goes to deep, and the disease pattern also will be changed somewhat deep, like bronchitis, asthma, like that. It will be comes to the level 5. So level 6 now, they will react. So they will come more to highest level of health. That means low highest level of health. Again, their pathology will go to the level of pneumonia itself. If they are have an acute disease, it will end up with the pneumonia, like that symptoms, chest conditions, like that, fluid collections in the bronchiectasis, bronchial asthma, like that, severe distress they will have. So from level 4 to level 5, level 6, they will be entering. So what is the beauty of these two groups now? They will get the acute crisis frequently. That is our immune system trying to get rid of the disease from our body. So for that, our medicines will react very, very well in the first 6 group, that is level 1 to level 6. So we can easily find out the right medicine for these people. We will get the shorter duration of treatment time for these people. So this is the best group. We have a more scope in our homeopathy medicines. So next, level 7, 8 and 9. So again, the level, that is the highest level of health, is decreasing. So they have the low energy. So severe pathology will be started, and chronic conditions, that is a chronic asthma, chronic bronchitis. Every day she has to take a puff, like that of condition, that is compromised immune status. It is developed in the level 7. So what is the differentiating point between the group A, group B with group C and below level? That means group C, group D. Now these group C, group D people will not get acute fever with Wintons. That is the main differentiating point. So when we ask the patients, so some patient is coming for bronchial asthma, she is on a regular puff 2 to 3 times in a day, like that, for continuously taking 10 years, 15 years, like that. The patient is coming to our clinic. Now we will ask, when you had a lost fever, like that, now she will think. She doesn't have that acute crisis in the past 10 to 15 years, like that. When she started to use that bronchodilators as a regular one, that during time there is no acute crisis. That is the differentiating point between group A, group B with the group C and the group D. So when the patient is level 7, 8 or 9, we are going to treat with the correct medicine. Once we are giving the correct homeopathic medication, the patient definitely within a month or within a month or in a year, it depends upon the highest level of health. If the patient is level 9 or 8 or 7, so if the patient is 7 now, they will get at least within a year, she has an acute crisis. We have to carefully treat the acute crisis. Then she jumps from level 7 to level 6. That means she is coming to the curative line of our treatment. So level 8 and 9 now, like that, level 9. Now the patient is level 9 now. If you're going to hit the correct homeopathic medication, the people will not get immediate reaction of acute crisis like fever. Any acute disease will not produce initially. That means it may take a time for nearly 1 to 2 years also, or more than that, like 2 years, 3 years only, she will get the acute crisis. That time only that immune system started to react very forcefully. So she is jumping from level 9 to level 6. So acute fever is coming after our treatment, after a prolonged time now. They are the group of C people, like level 7, 11, 8 and 11, 9. The 10, 11, 12, that group D people are very, very deeply having genetic predisposition, like condition with deep pathology. So these kind of people is very, very hard to treat with our homeopathy medication with the single medicine, single potency, like that. So especially level 12 is they are in a dead state. So we have to continuously change even for 1 hour, 2 hour, like that. We have to repeat it. So very mild potency we have to start with for level 12. Only palliative medicines only give relief to them. So we continuously giving a palliative medicine for 2 years, 3 years like that. Now they may have the chance to jump to level 9, 8 like that. But there is a cure is very question mark to this the patient level 10, level 11 and 12. So these are the basic classifications. So next one. So life expectancy of the group A. So level 1 is the highest level expectancy. Even we can expect 90 years and more. So in the level 2, life expectancy up to 80 years. Level 3, life expectancy up to 74 years. Level B, that means group B, level 4, 5 and 6. For that, life expectancy up to 70 years. Level 5 for 65 years, level 6 for 60 years, like that. In the group C, 7, 8, 9. Level 7, 55 years. For 8, 50 years. For 9, 40 years only. So group D now, level 10, level 12. For the 10, for the 30 years. 11 for 10 years. For 12th stage, the lowest life expectancy not more than the 5 years. So even the baby is born with the level 12. So we can see in the very genetic predisposition patients. So these kind of we have many seen in the clinical practice are mentally very retarded patients like that. Now they will come under the level 12 with the very lowest energy. So in these patients, we can expect more life expectancy, more curative therapy of our homeopathy. We can give palliative medicines. And the levels of health. So again, in this group where it will be very useful now, level 1 to 3, that means the group A, they will not easily affected with the fungus or a very virulent type of bacteria like that. Even the epidemic diseases like that, they will not affect more. If they are going to affect more because of the acute crisis like that, now they will come back with the right medicine easily. That is the beauty of the thing of level 1 to 3. So what are the common organisms affecting the level 1 to 3 people? Now, staphylococcus, streptococcal infections, gonococcal infections like that. Even syphilis will affect, influenza virus and virus bacteria for epidemic diseases. They will get easily affected, but they will come back to the normal easily. Level 4 to 6 now, Proteus, Pseudomonas, gram negative. What is the differentiating point now? Level 1 to 3, if they are going to for allopathic treatment, once they get with any epidemic disease or any acute infection now, they will easily suppressed, but the antibiotics work well for the level 1 to 3. But levels 4 to 6 now, again the antibiotic resistance started to grow. So that kind of infections like Proteus, Pseudomonas, gram-negative bacteria, like that, they will going to start getting infections. Levels 7 to 11, they have the chronic complaint only. There is no acute infections usually happen because there is a compromised immune system. So they are not getting a proper acute crisis. That means acute fever, any acute condition will not come suddenly. Levels 11 and 12, usually these people have like HIV patients or death end patients. No, they will get hospital acute infections like a pneumocystis carcini, like that fungus will affect him more commonly. These people are like levels 11 to 11 and levels level to 12. That means group C and D. These people they have the high antibiotic resistance. They will not suppressed with any antibiotics at all. They will not give a proper response to the antibiotics. So next one, so we can see these things like this is the important point. When the chronic pathology seems serious, this does not mean the patient is on a low level of health. He can be on the upper level as well as with an immune system that is in a good condition. Such a patient can be affected by any influenza virus, maybe die due to complications on the wrong treatment. This is we can see in the last pandemic, the COVID time, we had seen lot of cases by this crisis. The chronic pathology seems serious, but does not mean the patient is on a low level of health. So upper level also will get a immune system. Upper level also get a like influenza like virus. They will affect with him, but due to the complications and wrong treatment, definitely they will go for a death. That is the thing he explained in this book very well. So we seen a lot of cases during the pandemic time. These kind of patients, that means level A directly go for a death without going to the next stages. They will go directly to the death because of the just infections. That infection is with the, due to the complication and the wrong treatment. So such patients who have the ability to rise a high fever have a very good defense mechanism that can be treated well with the homeopathic remedy. And different and actually opposite to the prevailing notion that easy targets of influenza are people with weak organism and those who suffer from chronic diseases. But the fact is, the influenza primarily hits the young and strong organism or old people who are still in good health. Again, same point. So if it is the strange thing but interesting phenomena, an individual's immune system is compromised and his level of health go down the scale, then he can no longer raise a high fever even if exposed to a certain infectious agents like microbes, virus and bacteria. However, once he is treated correctly so that his health improves and his level elevates to at least 6th level, he will once again become susceptible to the microorganism and start raising high fever again. So the patient who is in group D or group C, he is reacting with our good medicines for a prolonged time, like 3 years, 4 years now, then he will jump to the level 6. From level 6 only, he will react with the acute infections. So we will notice, okay, he is improving like that, we have a good confidence. So an individual who has a severe mental illness like a schizophrenia, autism or any deep psychotic condition, who will belongs to the lowest level of health will be protected from infections with different microbial, bacterial and viral agents simply because of his bad mental health. So if the patient is in first group, that means level 1, 2, 3, they will easily affected by the epidemic diseases. But that recovery is very good if we going to give a proper homeopathic treatment. Otherwise, if they are going to a complication, definitely there will be cause for the death. So if the individual in the mental illness, if they are in the lowest level of health, they will not affect easily with the microbial, bacterial and the viral agents. And microbes or viruses are unable to affect people who are suffering from a severe chronic degenerative diseases, whether mental or any other levels of health type. Patients with the severe endogenous depression, with the malignant hypertension, with the liver cirrhosis, with collagen disease and neuromuscular disease, Alzheimer's disease with the idiocy, etc., usually in a very high percentage will not able to raise a high fever even though they may be exposed to bacteria, microbes and the viruses. Same point I already explained. So defense mechanism of people in group D levels 10 to 12 at the time of approaching death seems to make a final effort to recover, and it is the point in time that they get an inflammatory condition with a high fever. So in the group B people, when they are going to get a high fever now, the time of approaching the death, that time the final effort that will be final effort to recover, that is happen in their immune system. So in that time they will have an inflammatory condition with a high fever. So then the potency selections. So sensitive patients who prove every remedy or who are sensitive to emotional or mental impressions are those persons whose organism produces symptoms due to small stimuli similar to what we see in the nervous constitutions, or those suffering from multiple allergies or often sensitive to homeopathically potentized remedies. For them also we have to select medium potencies, sometimes very low potency. Actually these people come under level 1. But usually for the level 1 patients, that means a group A, level 1, 2, 3, actually we start with the very, very high potency. If the symptoms match very closely with the homeopathic medicine, that means the right similimum we find out now, we will directly go for a 10m, 50m like that. But the patient is in sensitive region, we have to reduce the potency. And some caution should be used with initial potency, preferably not higher than 30C, even no higher than 12C. Sometimes mother tinctures also used for the sensitive patients. The general good health state of the patient and the level of health. The higher the level of health, higher the initial potency. The depth of the pathology, the deeper the pathology, lower the initial potency. This is the main thing. So higher the level of health, the higher the initial potency. Deeper pathology, the lower the initial potency. Then the patient who is in whether the health of the patient is in imminent danger. For instance, in cases that have severe heart problems, it is better to start with the low potency. Usually 30C will be best. And the degree of similarity of the selected, degree of similarity of the selected remedy to the symptomatology of the patient, the more similar, the higher the initial potency. We can start with any potency from the lowest up to CM for the group A. In the higher levels, the lower potency will also work, but the effect can be slower. So in case we are finding the right similimum in the group A people, that means level 1 and 2, 3, but we are giving a low potency now, the effect will be there, but that is very slow in their work. For example, using D6 will take 20 days to get an effect instead of 3 days when 50M is used. This is for an acute case. So for acute case, we are going correct similimum with the 50M. Within the 3 days, she will come to normal. Instead of that, we are using going to DX potency. It will take 20 days. For a group B at the level, at the fourth level, group B, that means 4, 5 and 6. We can start with the potency up to 10M. And the fifth and the sixth level. So specifically for the fourth level, we start with potency up to 10M. Fifth and the sixth level, we start with 1M. Group C, this group, that means 7, 8, 9. We should not start with potency higher than 200C. So group C people, that is a chronic conditions like regularly taking puff, like that condition, regularly malignant hypertension, like that, a deep chronic pathology the patient who is having now. That means the group C people, we should not start with the potency higher than 200C. Group D, this group, we should not start with the potency higher than 30. When the pathology is deep, the general state of health is bad, then we need to give low potency repeatedly. In group D, we have to give more frequent doses of suitable remedy. For example, 12C 1 to 4 times a day or 30C once a day, like that we have to give the potency. When the pathology is very deep, general state of health is same thing, sorry. So this is conclusion. So each homeopath should try to see what works for his patients according to his experience and expertise. It should also be noted here that different races of people can react differently. That's a conclusion. Any doubts, madam? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Voice
ma'am.
breaking. Yeah. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You're audible. And
Any questions or any confusions?
questions for the first session or second session? Doctors, please write in the chat box so that they can read.
Sorry, I can't be able to share my PPT. I will share in a group separately.
Yes, doctor. It's a very wonderful session. I have given very good outline about levels of health. Actually, it's corroborative and what to say, complementing the session we had about cancer care. So that's why I planned both the things, palliative care as well as levels of health before. So I think we have covered most of the things about cancer care in this way, and we will have one more session about cancer care by Dr. Jyoti Udupi next Sunday on Sunday. So I think he will talk about remedies usually used in cancer. So any questions, please ask Doctor. We can direct it to the first speaker or second speaker. You can put in the chat box. And both of you have done very well research and very well presented your presentation. Very good, doctor.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think not many queries as such. And next time, if you are for both of you, my suggestion is you reduce the general part, what every doctor will be knowing, right? Because we have all levels of doctors, from the beginners till the very seasoned practitioners. So we have to give a presentation where we are addressing to all levels of practitioners. So beginners will be interested in some things, and seasoned practitioners will not be interested in certain things because they already know basics. So you have to plan in such a way so that you will include more of therapeutics or medicine examples, which will appeal to all the level of practitioners in general. And if you have that structure and presentation is very well, maybe we have to add more of therapeutics. It is my thought. So I think that will appeal to all the doctors and basically reduce general minimize general knowledge, whatever everybody knows. So those things you can reduce. And since we are not having much queries in the chat box, I think can we wind up the session, Dr. Rachna?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable comments about our presentations. We'll surely incorporate that in future. That's really valuable. Thank you.
Wind up. Yeah. Good day, doctors. Have a nice time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.